Hello and welcome to another exciting installment of Drezen Draws. We began shortly after the new year, at midnight, January 1st, 2018, which was the same date in which Drezen Media was officially launched. I am an imbecile because I forgot to hit record on my broadcast software, so that's why... Anyways, today's theme is villains. Villains are, for all intents and purposes, one of the main reasons why comic books have lasted as long as they have. Superhero comics and so on and so forth. All kinds of comics, all kinds of cartoons, all kinds of the stuff that we grew up loving, stuff we grew up hating. A lot of that is due, in large part, not just for the heroes, but because of the villains as well. Villains come in many forms, shapes, sizes, and levels of evilness. Yeah. Villains can also be pretty cool. Sometimes even cooler than the heroes themselves. I mean, look at Darth Vader. Not that I'm going to draw Darth Vader because, I don't know. I don't know if, maybe one of the later episodes. So, just for those of you who would like me to draw something during the show, here's how you do it. Send an email with your request to drezendraws@gmail.com. Limit it to one character, please. I'm not drawing Darth Vader tonight. But I will draw other things. And of course I have the right to say no. And Max Miller has joined the show. This is being seen via Facebook Live, and it's going to be uploaded to YouTube. So, if you're watching, you're going to get a shout-out. There is also one other little bit of side business. Speaking of superheroes and supervillains or whatever, I'm about to do a little shameless plug. Hi, Ed. And your timing is actually perfect, Ed. I am holding here a proof print of the 7th issue of Lucky Zilla. Why? Not just to tease you, because unfortunately it's not out yet. However, the official release date of Lucky Zilla number 7 will be February 24th, 2018. Saturday, February 24th of 2018 at Fanfare in New York City, which will be my first comic book show of this year. So, take a look. I can't show you any of it. I'd love to, but I wonder where I've seen that logo and such before. Oh my god. I don't know if I have time to draw Darkseid and Thanos playing Old Maid tonight. That's maybe for villains 2 or 3. But noted. For sure. Definitely noted. Darkwing Duck is not a villain. So, just to kind of get the ball rolling, as it were. Gimme. God, that's rude. I am going to start with our first villain of the evening. Make him evil. Well, there is an evil Darkwing Duck. It's called Negaduck, but Tad Stones might get mad at me. So, let's I'm like, not drawing Darth Vader. Not happening. I'm having brain farts like crazy. I better get started. So, the first drawing of the night will be the Riddler. See, I'm compromising, Nancy, because one of the things you voted on was the Riddler. Darth Revan? I have no idea who that is. I'm not drawing Darth anything, unless you want to see Darth Rich. And I doubt you do, because Darth Rich doesn't really care much for Star Wars. So anyways, we are going to draw the Riddler. Somewhat loosely based on Frank Gorshin's inimitable portrayal of said Riddler on the 1966 Batman television series. Okay. The next person that suggests anything Star Wars related is... Okay, I will compromise to a certain extent. I might draw Dark Helmet, but we'll wait until after the Riddler, because I really want to draw the Riddler. It's called Drezen Draws. Spaceballs. Okay. Bob Fett? Don't you mean Boba Fett? I thought you were a Star Wars fan. Come on. Nope, don't like the way that looks. I will compromise with the level of evil that is Darth Vader with the next character that we're going to draw. That I'm going to draw, and perhaps you can follow along with me if you so choose to. Now, everyone wants Darth Vader, but... Oh, God. Yeah, there's mayhem afoot in Drezen land. I won't say how, but that's okay. You know, it's a lot easier when I have somebody to talk to while I'm doing this, but we'll worry about guest stars in the next few episodes. You know, sometimes it's good to have peace and quiet. Other times it's just you need a little noise. Throw my phone to the other side of the room. Okay. All right. Good. Good. Thank you. Bring the noise. Bring the fun. Schedule these on Sunday, dude. No. Thursday night. I don't want to release too much content on a Sunday. I think I have my third request. Though I have to be honest, I was maybe going to hold that one back a little bit, but I'll let you know when we get to it. It'll be the final request of the evening.
Hi, Jay.
Oh, it does not look like Darth Vader. Yeah, maybe it's because as I switch cameras. Maybe it's because I'm not drawing Darth Vader tonight. I know. I've been picking on you, Nancy. You draw Chernabog yet? No, I just... Oh my god. See, Ed needs to sit in on... No, already got the three things in. I am gonna be drawing Chernabog as soon as I finish with the Riddler. And let me just tag somebody right here. Or at least try to share this thing. This will be real quick. What will get his attention? Oh, that'll get his attention. Oh boy. So, let's start inking the Riddler. Actually, before we do, just need to bring down the opacity on him. Just a little bit. So I'm not, like, overdoing anything. Not exactly Frank Gorshin, but definitely in the spirit of the silliness that ran rampant in the Adam West Batman, which I hold very dear to this day. Bouncing around on my parents' couches during the fight scenes with the Bam and the Biff and the Pow and whatnot. Nope. Oh, I'm not even showing you what I'm drawing, am I? Somebody else has got to do this for me one of these days. Darth Gorshin. See, this is why Ed has to be in on like all of these all the time. It's a shame that that Frank Gorshin is no longer with us because, quite honestly, you know, I mean, he was fairly young. I think he had just he was in his early 70s. He died 2005. He passed. He was born in 33, so he'd still be in his early 80s by now. Still plenty of stuff left to do. Know what I mean? Because the truth is, you're really never too old. Now these question marks might end up being the death of me, and the reason I say that is because if you notice some of the brush strokes that I make, I'll make one very specific. The smaller I go, the more it likes to make up its own line. I'll zoom in so that you can see. See what I mean? Right there. I gotta erase that because that looked like something else. It's whatever you want it to be. I'm just treating it as the Riddler. I just haven't added the question marks. Now we are going to cheat just a little bit. And actually, it's not really called cheating. It's called making deadlines. Let's see. I'm at 22 minutes, so I'm going to have to hurry this up a little bit. My God, there are so many question marks, man. Surprised that Mary isn't in on this. Then again, she hasn't really played that many villains in her cosplay travels. At least from what I've seen. I would have music playing. The only problem is I didn't prepare anything that was public domain. Oh, and Jay, since you're just joining us.
Oh, darn.
Here it is. And I'm not going to flip through any pages. I'm just going to tease you with it. It launches February 24th, and Nick Ritchie has joined. Hello, Nick Ritchie. Nick Ritchie is good. Nick Ritchie also draws. Nick, you have got to do more live stream videos. The ones that I was on that you hosted were a lot of fun. So, do that again. And maybe, just maybe, you be a guest on Drezen Draws. And your characters, if I remember correctly, you sent me a lovely Christmas card with them on it. I believe their names are Hector and Haley. Hello, Emmett Goodman. Let's go back to the draw cam. And, now, unfortunately, because we're a little strapped for time, there will be no coloring of these drawings. However, if you do wish to purchase a print of them, send me an email at drezenmedia@gmail.com and I will work something out. I'm not really at liberty to discuss selling prints, especially since most of what I'm drawing on here is copyrighted characters. And, you know, I want to just be kind of on the down low about it because I don't want to piss anyone off. I have friends that still draw some of their own original characters. And it would just be very unsporting of me to, you know. There we go. It really all depends. You have to ask Dave Gerstein what Disney's situation is on copyright these days. But for what it's worth, I wouldn't test them. After all, they're effing Disney. That looks terrible. That looks better. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to take this question mark here and we're going to make a brush out of it. Because, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not drawing 100 question marks. That is not happening. Pause for station identification. So anyways... let's try something else. Making brushes isn't everything it's cracked up to be, but it sure helps.
Hi, Tony.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. That looks... You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna duplicate this brush. Actually, no, we're gonna make a completely new brush. Thank you. Thank you so much. Tony Susnick has a documentary out which I have not seen, but I have to recommend everyone go see it because there are not a lot... There's not a lot of attention, I think, that's paid to the early days of cinema, let alone the early days of film comedy, because, you know, there are just way too many people that have been forgotten, such as the likes of Marcel Perez and John Bunny, who Tony did a documentary about, which I really need to see. It's just, I'm so darned busy. I like everything. I need to see more movies. I need to see, you know, like, every movie that came out this year. Like, ever. Except for what movies do I not want to see? I can't think of them now. It's probably better off that way. But I mean, Tony is one of those guys who makes these amazing Shemp memes on the Shemp Instead page. But he's also a documentary filmmaker, and you know, you should check out his stuff and tell him I sent you. Or you can just check out the Shemp Instead page if you need a little bit more convincing, if my word is not good enough for you. It should be. I'm sitting here working for free, keeping you folks entertained. The least you could do is take me seriously. Anyways, moving on. There we go, 5 people watching. That's good. Okay, and we're 35 minutes in, so that's not too bad. Call this a cop-out if you want. And that's why sometimes you just gotta do it the long way. I'm gonna have a little bit of fun with this one. And you saw what I did there, and I am not sorry for it. I mean, it's like they were all wearing spandex on the show, so I mean, you know. You got a spandex fetish, that's for you. Actually, I better... No, I can't. That actually really sticks out like a sore thumb. It looks like something else. And because it looks like something else, it's coming out. Yep. I'm going to finish this one up and move on because we are slowly going over my limit. I gotta really find a way to keep these under a half hour, but you guys don't mind, do you? Of course not. Alright, alright. Okay. That was more of a challenge than I thought. So, let me just save this real quick. Oh boy. Riddler. Okay. Now, if you'll pardon me for just a moment, I'm going to play that lovely main title again as we segue into our next drawing. Okay, so I am back, and for our next drawing, which, by the way, you can request drawings most of the time if I'm in the mood by emailing me, drezenmedia@gmail.com. So, my best friend Ed Giasin has kindly recommended, after my numerous declines to draw Darth Vader. Not in this episode. Oh my god, that right there is an entire episode. I just want you guys to know. It'll be like villains 2 or 3. So, our next villain for the evening is Metal Sonic. Metal Sonic first appeared, at least in this form, in Sonic CD back in 1993. This right here is the 25th issue of the recently canceled Sonic the Hedgehog comic book series by Archie. Now, because I'm running like really behind, I'm just gonna get right into it. You know, no BSing, no none of that. And I'm just going to go to town. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this silhouette right here. This is based on the aesthetic that was given to metal by Patrick Spaziante. I believe that's how you say his name, but one of these days, if I get in front of the dude, I'll ask him, how do you say your name? Okay. One of these days, on perhaps a future episode, Nancy, I will draw a zombie version of Jesus. And I will explain why. There is an anime from 1970. It's probably one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen, and I haven't even seen the whole darn thing yet. It's called Cleopatra, Queen of Sex. It's by Osamu Tezuka, the daddy of Astro Boy. Yeah, maybe for my, I just gotta put that over there so that, number one, I have it within range, and number two, okay, there we go. That's a happy medium. Last thing I want to do is copy Spaz because, I don't do that. May not be able to see everyone's comments. I used to draw Metal Sonic and Sonic all the time when I was much, much younger. I think what I'm going to have to do is tighten up the smoothing on this, because when you look at pictures of Metal Sonic, he's got perfect symmetry. A lot of the most well-designed robots have perfect symmetry. You go as far back as Electro, who was a big hit at the 1939 World's Fair. He had perfect symmetry. That's helping a lot. There we go. Getting that line is not as easy as it looks. But if it was, I wouldn't need to draw it. Now, I'm not so much concerning myself with too many details because this is going to be in silhouette. You'll pardon my silence. I know I've apologized twice already. I just have been waiting all day to do this. And I wish I was a little bit more talkative. But I guess that's what guests are for, and I need them. I really do. One of the original ideas behind this was to, draw stuff, maybe not live, but, take a request, draw it up, edit it, speed it up, but then it was just a matter of editing. If I have to edit anything, and for those of you who know of the Lazy Sunday Spin, that itself takes a few hours of editing. Gotta find words to say, don't I? So you're probably just getting bored of hearing absolutely no sound as I stroke this pen back and forth across my Cintiq. So, a little bit of backstory about, where am I? About this comic right here. Now, I have almost the first 80 of the Archie Sonic comics. That's my goal, is to get the first 80, and then, and I'm only missing 2 right now, which is numbers 8 and number 11. I'm about to buy number 11 after this, actually. So, the thing about the Sonics was not just the fact that they were good, that they inspired me, but there was a feature in them called The Adventures of Scott and Paul. And it had to do with the editors of the book at the time, Scott Fulop and Paul Castiglia. Paul Castiglia is a friend of mine, and I've gotten to know him through his screenings of some Laurel and Hardy films, one of which is later this month, and Mad Monster Party. I believe it was last year sometime or the year before. I forget which. It's been so long since I've seen the guy. Actually, has it been? I don't know. But anyways, The Adventures of Scott and Paul was very significant in at least my career in comics, because through reading the books as much as I did, and I read the hell out of my Sonic comics, you can tell, because my first copy of issue number 25 for over 20 years was coverless until I got this one as a replacement, because I really just wanted a good copy of it. And this one cost me all of, including shipping, $20. Because if you look at any other listing of Sonic number 25, for instance, on eBay right now, the lowest price you will find for a copy not nearly as nice as this is a pretty nice copy. And it's a newsstand edition, which is kind of hard to get. I mean, the Sonic comics themselves are very difficult to get a hold of as it is, but newsstand versions are particularly hard to get a hold of. So, anything else, the sellers will price gouge the crap out of you. I mean, I found one copy that I'm not 100% sure if it was graded or not, that was going for like $200 or $300, and ungraded ones that were going for well over $100. And I just, number one, I can't afford that, and number two, despite the fact that, you know, it does have some collector status, it's not worth that kind of money. Look at Overstreet Price Guide and Comic Book Price Guide. You know, they'll list it in there as like maybe $10 or something. It's just a lot of your comics with sentimental value are not worth what you think they're worth. Just throwing that out there for any of you who have a bunch of old Superman comics in your mom's attic. They might be worth something, but, you know, not what you're hoping to get for them. And I'm saying this in a very nice way as somebody who collected comics for a while. I kind of do, but I mostly don't. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this behind us. I'm going to add one last element, and then we got to move on to our final drawing. Scratch that. We got to move on. We really got to move on. It's getting late, and we're almost at the hour mark, so there we go. Silhouetted Metal Sonic from Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay, that's safely back in the bag. Now, what's we got here? Yay. Let me just take a quick drink. I figured it would be best to save the best for last. So, our final drawing of the evening is a character you may remember from Disney's landmark feature, Fantasia. I am speaking, of course, of the one and only Chernabog. So, let's get right into him, because he might take a while. And I just picked my nose. Oh man, how embarrassing. Hydration is key. I did a hydrate. If my landlord starts screaming, just ignore it. I'm not in any danger. Now let's see. Now, you may have heard a rumor floating around about Chernabog, that Bela Lugosi was the original live-action model for Chernabog. And this is true. There was footage that was shot, but it was deemed unusable. I forget by who. Might have been the sequence director, Wilfred Jackson, who ended up posing for Chernabog himself. Which is the one that we see in the final film. Chernabog the character was originally animated by one of everyone's favorite at the Disney studio, and pretty much of all time, one Vladimir Bill Tytla. I have to say, you know, in preparing for this this particular show, and there isn't really much preparation that I do before it. I just kind of, you know, set it up and go. But I went looking around for some Chernabog merchandise because I was just curious. I'm like, you know, this character's been around for quite a while. I mean, what has Disney done to you know, supplement that, especially, you know, when Fantasia is one of the greatest films that they ever made. You know, and I mean, there's merchandise out there for it. But Chernabog, I guess, because of the nature of the villain and the fact that, you know, he's bringing to life in that scene, that sequence, rather, a host of naked ghosts, for lack of a better term. So I guess, it kind of reflects in the merchandise that you will find of Chernabog, which is kind of disappointing, unless of course you have about $500 or $600 to blow on a Chernabog statue that will probably fit on one of your bookshelves in your apartment. Thank you guys for all the comments and seeing that, you know, and I mean, numbers don't really matter so much to me as much as, you know, people are participating and enjoying themselves. I'm going to clean off this screen a little bit. I must admit, I was very nervous about drawing this character because I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I'm ready for it, you know, because, I mean, this is a big deal and I want to make it right and whatever. Actually, that wasn't so bad. Pardon me while I change nibs. He requires a great deal of sketching to get just right, and also I have to adjust the smoothing settings on my tablet Yeah, get out of here. This way we get more of the lines that we intend and less lag in an attempt to do so. I got this really cool pose right here that I'll show you that I found. It's a little different from, you know, the typical Chernabog images that you're going to find in a Google search. I thought this one was interesting because it's a side of Chernabog that you don't really see unless you freeze frame the film, which is something I can't stand. I can't stand that. People just kind of start breaking stuff down. I mean, it's cool and all, but you know, I'm used to just, you know, you sit down, you watch a movie, and whatever. Don't interrupt it. You know, for a second I thought Chernabog had only 3 fingers. I'm like, really? You know, it's like... If that were the case, you gotta be kidding me. How much of an intimidating villain can you really be with 3 fingers? Let me bring it down to the... I can see why John Bellotti did some amazing Godzilla posters that I have on my wall. Uses the pencil tool. Worry about inking and all those other details later on. Otherwise, it'll just drive you nuts. As it did me. I do not like any of those. Let me see if I can just draw the hand separately. Yeah. At a certain point, trying to see through all of those scratchings is just gonna make you feel like you're going blind. Oh, snap. That was a very lucky save. Let me just pause for a hot second. Whew. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate that very much. It makes me feel less weird about doing this. You definitely get a sense of... I gotta stop doing that. Definitely get a sense of Lugosi in this character. For sure. For sure. He's like all over Chernabog. There is no denying it. Even if the footage they ultimately used was of Wilfred Jackson, you know for sure that Lugosi is just plastered all over this thing. Josh Latta, if you're watching this, at some point I might be forced to give you a print of this. So, fair warning. Honestly, the shovel was not me. That was all Lemon Flap. You can blame him if he even wants to bother taking the blame, which I doubt. But you can take that up with him. I had nothing to do with the shovel.
trying to think of who else worked on Chernabog besides Tytla, because Tytla, I don't think, did every single shot of Chernabog, and I certainly and sincerely doubt that that Natwick animated any of Chernabog, because he had his hands full, you know, with a few other things on Fantasia, I believe. I'm actually really liking how this is coming out. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but, well, you know. Yeah, Nick, you might be onto something there. I mean, this, you gotta understand, for those of you who aren't animation nerds, Fantasia was released the same year as Pinocchio. And I mean, neither film made a profit in its first release. In fact, Fantasia just bombed miserably at the box office. I mean, it was a popular film and a lot of people went to see it, but only in the big cities because of Fantasound and things of that nature. You know, I mean, you couldn't show Fantasia in its original form, you know, Fantasound and all, at all but in you could only show it in like 12 theaters in the entire country at that time. So the way they were wired for sound, it was all on monaural tracks. It was only equipped for mono sound. Fantasia pretty much invented stereo sound on the fly. So there was that problem. And also there was the fact that RKO, Disney's distributor on his features, didn't want to release the film. So they just kind of took a look at it and were like, we don't know what the hell to do with that. And so Disney, you know, prior to founding Buena Vista Distribution, and then later Buena Vista Pictures in 1954, had decided to four-wall Fantasia. Hello, John. Thanks for joining us. have to redo these at some point. Oh, that's right. I was about to go into something with Nick. Some effects animated. I wonder if Josh Metter had worked on Chernabog, because he did the water effects in Pinocchio during the Monstro sequence. I mean, considering all the effects in Night on Bald Mountain, there's not a doubt in my mind that that Metter and his team were all over that. I think Blaine Gibson was another one of Disney's top effects animators. I think if anything, Thad would know better than any of us. Maybe even Gurn. Though I doubt he really goes that far ahead in animation history. He normally sticks with Oswald and the like. I don't know about you guys, but I think that definitely looks like something. Gurn! We love Gurn. Gurn honestly is one of my heroes. You know, for bringing those Oswalds to life the way that he did, and for what him and his guys do on the Disney comics that are coming over from Italy for the first time on our shores, which I know seems a little odd, you know, for Disney comics with you know, Fab Five Disney characters, you know, appearing in the U.S. for only the first time. Wonder if Jay stuck around for Chernabog at all. You can tell at this point, it's like I don't care, and I do care. I'm just tired. Just closing up some stuff. And there we go. Okay. I also have to improve some of the features that we have here. I mean, after all, we wanna look our most devilish on Walpurgis night. Found this Chernabog pop vinyl figure, which you never really want to get me started on because I don't like them, but this Chernabog pop vinyl was just terrible. Absolutely terrible. I'm like, I know pop figurines are supposed to be cute and all, but for God's sakes, this is Chernabog, man. You know, like one of the few pieces of merchandise that dude, you know, and it's like, you know, you have a pop vinyl figure? Are you kidding me, man? Come on. That's BS. Hey, Simon. You're just joining us for just about the end of the second episode of Drezen Draws, in which I drew some villains. This one here you might remember from Disney's classic Fantasia, Chernabog, who appears in the finale of Fantasia. To a piece of music called A Night on Bald Mountain. And you know what? Just for the hell of it, I'm gonna color his ass in. He definitely looks like he's up to no good. Compare with this version, if you so desire. Whew. Well, I believe it is time to sign this. Get one last look. I did not get the Oswald book, but
I'm so horrible with books. I really am. But soon enough. Where am I? So anyways, for the future, get your requests in at drezenmedia@gmail.com. You can also post them in the comments here. You can make a post on the Drezen Draws Facebook page. If you see me in person, you can say something. You can message me or whatever. But we went way over time, and I apologize, but I guess it's going to be that kind of series where I'm just not going to be able to keep it under an hour no matter what I do, which is okay, I guess, because all of you seem to enjoy yourselves tonight, which I'm happy with. I mean, that's the whole point, right? So, I'm going to get going because I am really tired. I didn't really get a lot of sleep last night. But next week's episode, which will air live here on Facebook, and the next day on YouTube, or later on that night at YouTube. Anyways, next week's episode, yeah, keep it simple, will be Thursday, January 18th at 8 p.m. And the theme is Ladies' Night. Catch you later. This is Rich Drezen of Drezen Draws. No fancy conclusion. Good night.